Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Jaxson Galaxy video blog. My name is Jaxson Galaxy. This is my video blog that I do. I just passed my 15-year anniversary, so in some ways this is the 15-year anniversary special, but it's not anything special. Look at how pretty. I've been working very hard on my other YouTube channels and have been largely neglecting this one since I've been doing it for 15 years and it's never made me any money. It's brought me plenty of joy and happiness and all the other things that you would expect. Also, I've got my gamer glasses on because I didn't want to have my shades on because it's quite dark outside. You can see the lights for the house are still coming on and the frame rate is low. But I wanted to take Colette out, get on some of these freshly paved roads. So I didn't realize that it had rained. There's puddles and everything's wet. So I've been working really hard on the other video blog channel, or not video blog channel, the other YouTube channel. This is the video blog channel. I've been toying with the idea because I have this other ASMR channel that focuses mostly on like sound and like quiet, calm, relaxation. Here, check that out. Look at the sky and its beautiful color. One of my cousins ended up joining the military. I don't know the details because I didn't go to his going away party because I was asleep. It just happened to line up like right in the middle of my sleep cycle, and it was not like ideal timing for me. It would be as though if you would, if you were a person that goes to bed at like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock every night, someone asking you to stay up until like 4 a.m. and then go to a party. I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. That's gonna wreak all sorts of havoc. Man, all these houses are finished. None of these houses were here last time I was on the street. Many of them were under construction, but they just can't build houses fast enough. It's crazy. I got messages from a bunch of my family and stuff that was like, hey, you didn't go to the party. Like, I was expecting you to be there. I haven't caught up with you in a long time. I got a couple messages from my parents who were like, yeah, a bunch of your cousins like wanted to talk to you. I was like, yeah, I know, like, I'm aware. I'm not gonna like ruin my life to go like, see a party or whatever. If it was like, I don't know, I probably could have made it if I was really trying to make like a bigger deal about going for it, but that's like, I don't want to be sick and all that kind of thing. I need to slow down. There's so much wind noise. I got this mic in the hopes that it would help with the wind noise, but it does have stereo, so if I'm talking in this ear, this should be your right ear, and then this should be your left ear. So I haven't really used it much after I got it, but I'm glad that I have it. Man, I think I've touched on like 6 different topics without actually getting to the point of any of the topics. So I'm out on the one wheel. I'm gonna try and go back through the thing. One wheel just had their big race, and I haven't one wheeled in a long time because I hurt myself playing with little kids. Some family friends and my nieces and nephews and stuff were hanging out with me on the 4th of July. And I was playing with the little kids and they pulled me over on top of them, but I didn't want to land on them because it would have done like serious damage to them in the way that we were like roughhousing. So I had to like throw my left leg forward and I tore a muscle in my left butt cheek that goes like from the back of my leg like across my butt cheek and then up like to the kind of front part of my hip. And my lower back was just wrecked for like a month. Like I couldn't move or bend or do anything really. I had to ask my parents for money to go see a doctor, and the doctor was like, you don't have insurance, like I can't help you. I don't even know why you bothered to show up. Here's a prescription for a cheap painkiller, good luck. So I haven't been on the one wheel because I didn't want to like re-injure myself. So it still hurts a lot. I still like, I walk with a limp now and like can't go get it treated really. Physical therapy and stuff, but the physical therapy without insurance is like almost $200 a week, which is way too expensive. It's always just dumb stuff that ends up being prohibitively expensive. But my kitties are okay, I'm okay, my mom's okay. Try and get a little bit better context shot instead of just up my nose for a minute. But so I'm out in the morning, well before sunrise, because on that other channel, I was trying to think of a way. I wanted to have one where it's like I set up the camera and basically have it look east over the mountain range, and then like over the course of the long, you know, relaxation style video, the sun rises up over the Rocky Mountains, which, you know, could be really pretty. Hey, this is all different. This was a cornfield like a month ago. I guess it's been sold, because now it's all new housing development going in. Interesting. So the reason I came to this spot was to check out that idea of, because this was all a big dead end in a cornfield, and now it is not that. It is all new housing stuff. So like, you know, I wanted a shot kind of like this, where it's like, you know, well before the sun comes up, like the sun will come up over these mountains, which looks super gorgeous, especially on a day like this where the cloud cover is like, makes all the little like god fingers or whatever, the little sort of crepuscular rays coming through the clouds and stuff. So then me sitting here saying, you know, like, take a deep breath, relax, do all the things. There's Colette hanging out. Oh, if it wasn't muddy, this would actually be like the most fun thing to like zip across. This is like all the new housing developments in Colorado is like all I used to zip on. My cousins on my mom's side of the family came to visit from Wisconsin. So that was really fun to see them. They came and stayed with us for a while. There's a Chinese mega corporation called Tencent that I try and like boycott and avoid as much as possible, but at this point they own like every video game. So like the big new Pokemon game that just came out called Pokemon Unite is basically developed and published by this big Chinese mega corporation, where it's like in collaboration with the Pokemon Company of the United States and Japan and other stuff. So I was like, man, I'm not gonna play that. And then one of my friends was like, you should just come play with me. And I was like, okay. That took some convincing. So I've been playing that a bunch, and that's super fun. I don't know that I would really recommend it to anybody. I'm sure it's gonna be explosively popular for a short period of time. I don't know that it has the staying power of other video games. Boy, that's a really pretty cloud. I don't think it'll be able to see it, but like there's a cloud, just one tiny little cloud lower than the mountain range, just resting in that valley right there. Gorgeous. I'm doing okay. I'm doing well, aside from my butt cheek, like I mentioned. One of my dad's best friends' daughter is a physical therapist, so I might actually be going to get some like, you know, free budget direction in the realm of physical therapy to try and help my leg. I've been awake all night, so trying to stay awake into the evening is probably going to be a challenge. It's just like a lot of little things, which I guess that's what life is sort of made of, is just a lot of little things. The camera's over here now. Hi, how are you? I think it's the first time I've actually looked directly into the camera in the last 17 minutes and 30 seconds. Hi! Which, if I get my big head out of the way, you can actually see how gorgeous it is out here right now. It does not smell gorgeous. It smells like sewage and wet farmland. And speaking of St. George, I haven't been back there for like several years now. I think if I go until August 5th or something, it will be 3 years, like heading into my 4th year or whatever, without having been back down there. So it's hard for me to, I still feel like I'm from there. People ask me where I'm from, and that's where I, you know, like, yeah, I'm from there. But it's like, even down there has changed so much in the last 3 or 4 years, like, you know, just like a crazy amount of development and just insane growth. I think it's still, after the last census from like 1985 to 2005, it was the fastest growing city by population percentage in the United States. It was second only to Vegas in like raw number of people. And then since 2005 to 2000 and whatever it is now, 2021, it's always been in the top 10. I think it's still in the top 10, like fastest growing people. It's like when I moved there, it was like 18,000 people or less, like in the whole area. Now like each city is like 100,000 people. It's like 50,000, 100,000. It's like, oh my gosh. So it's like the city streets are just always congested and traffic, and There's just people everywhere, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. My favorite place in the world is Shibuya Terminal in Tokyo, which is the most crowded, most populated place in the world. So it doesn't really bother me much, aside from that, you know, that has been developed to be like a big city structure. And southern Utah is like a bunch of old white retired people being like, get off my lawn, I'm gonna go golfing. So running 4 different YouTube channels has been its own challenge, and I think that's probably not a good way to do things. So in the last little while, I've sort of like rededicated myself to just focusing on the one like ASMR channel that has been growing the most, and just focusing on that, and maybe like, you know, just doing 2 videos a week on that channel instead of just 1 video a week on that channel, while also trying to, like, you know, I've got all these big grand plans of like, all right, I'm gonna do like, you know, 1-wheel videos on the video blog channel, and they'll be edited with music and like all this stuff. I'll do, you know, an ASMR channel video like once a week, and then I'll do like gaming channel videos like twice a week, and then try and do live streams on Twitch. And it's like all of those things I have done a little bit of, not nearly as much as I was planning on doing, and none of them are particularly successful in terms of like growth or finances or whatever else. I think part of the reason for that is part of the philosophy that's just sort of ingrained in my mind is that when I was growing up, I used to always like record myself with like little microphones and like little digital tape, like actual tape recorders and stuff, and then eventually like digital recorders and that kind of thing. And I'd make like little radio shows or little radio program jokes. I had a cassette called Jackson's Life. It was basically just video blogs like years and years and years before like online video was even a thing, because there was no online. Ooh, it's starting to get a little fire in the sky. So like I grew up basically like expecting to have some form of like audience, but it was never like a stage audience. Like I never considered it, I never thought of myself as like a performer in the terms of like an actor or something, but rather like that it was just going to be like a showcase of my life is like what I would do. I used to make videos before, you know, like when home camcorders were a thing, but before the internet, I would still make these videos just for myself. So it was like a natural transition for me to like start doing videos on MySpace, and then start doing videos on YouTube, and then YouTube got bought by Google. Then video blogging became a thing, and then once advertisers figured out that, you know, these people that have, you know, an influence online, hence why they are called online influencers now. And now it's like everybody in the world is competing to be the thing that I kind of assumed that I was just going to like grow into, I guess. And so now it's like my version of like the competition is from years ago, and the space has grown up around that and like overtaken it like trees in a forest. It's like my particular style, interesting online video, introspective, like calm, thoughtful, whatever, doesn't really suit the modern climate anymore. So while there are still things that I like doing, like the toothpaste and luxury channels, just like a creative outlet more or less for me, showcasing luxury products. The last video I just made is reviewing the One Wheel XR, you know, One Wheel Plus XR by Future Motion, and that one was really fun to make. But in the end, they never turn out as funny as I want them to be. You're always learning, right? Anytime you're going about anything, but like, I mean, I edit those videos for hours and hours and hours, but even like the style of editing that I know, like, doesn't suit current online video culture, right? Because that didn't exist back when I learned how to edit. I first started learning how to edit video in 8th grade, in junior high school. So that was, what year was that? 1999? 1999 to 2000 or something. So it was like, you know, years before social media, years before like online advertising, long before like viral video marketing campaigns, long before like hyperactive like meme edit videos and stuff, which are the type of videos that I enjoy watching a lot of the time. The ridiculous stuff of the internet is like what I live for. I wanted that toothpaste and luxury like videos to turn out like, but even with like all the crazy editing and stuff that I do, you know, I bought lights and all this other kind of stuff, like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel it's hard to say. I don't have a particular word, because it's like, it is a genuine experience, but it doesn't feel as, like, I want it to feel less genuine. I want it to feel like a little more plasticky and a little cartoony and a little like, you know, like bait. But that's just not who I am, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a good advertisement. It doesn't fit in today's world as much as I would want it to, right? The whole idea of like naturally entertaining people who... What up, guys? We're gonna have a great time today. Like, I can't even pretend to do that because I don't even know what to say. Like, in that moment, I'm just like, you know, they do multiple takes and whatever until they get it just right, where they're just like, what up, dudes? Welcome to the channel. We're gonna... Nah. That's just not how I've ever done things. And I don't know if making something like intentionally to like be that way, or just making fun of that, is funny to the right type of people, because you still need to build an audience, right? Like, I can make fun of those people, but my making fun of those people does not necessarily, like, the people who would find that funny aren't the people who are watching those types of videos. So it's like just a massive disconnect of like me trying to figure out how to do the things that I want to do. And part of the, you know, very typical ADHD brain, something that like philosophers from India in a method called Ayurveda would call Vata, which means similar to the wind. I've been learning a lot about that kind of stuff just because it's super interesting. There's a whole other thing, I'll go into that in a minute, but like the idea of like bouncing between a bunch of different stuff like can suit people of certain styles, but like that's not kind of my natural style. I just have a tendency to do that, but I'm much more like slow in everything. There's a bunch of different people. In fact, I'll just use the more prominent example. Casey Neistat has a video about building a castle, and it's very easy for people of my generation and younger to build a single brick and 100 different castles rather than building 100 bricks in one castle. And it's like, if you don't end up taking the time to just focus on one thing, then you end up just having a trail of bricks that don't really add up to anything. A very prime example of like the way that my mind works and the way that I just, you know, experience the sort of novelty symptoms of ADHD, where it's like, if something is novel, if something is new, then it becomes interesting, and my brain can like just naturally hyper focus on that thing until it's no longer novel, and then I'm just on to the next thing. Which, from people that don't have ADHD, frequently you know, point out how intelligent I am, or how smart I am, or that I've been called a genius multiple times in my life. Some of my older friends used to call me Dictionary, like as my nickname, just because I knew a lot of words and how to use them well and can speak somewhat eloquently. That's an example of me speaking eloquently. It can look like that from the outside. I'm not claiming any of those things, but like, and it's common enough that I've realized that to other people that's how it may seem, right? It may seem as though I'm naturally gifted in a lot of different ways, because I am, but that doesn't necessarily help me in any meaningful way. That doesn't necessarily guarantee me some prospects for one thing or another, right? Like being really interested in learning how to play guitar and then getting pretty decent at guitar and then never touching the guitar again for like 15 years and then picking it up, or like learning how to draw, or learning how to Photoshop, or doing editing, or like visual effects, or sound design. So it's like, you know, business analysis, investments. I got into Bitcoin in 2010 and just like didn't do anything with it. And now today it was just like, oh yeah, that would have been a nice thing to like stick to. You know what I mean? Like being a multi-billionaire would have been nice. Of course, that kind of thing, you just can't predict how things are going to turn out in the future. But that's one where it's like, yeah, I probably should have followed my gut instinct on that one. It's kind of how it goes sometimes. But so I've got all these examples, right? I've been writing a script since I started taking my feature-length movie script writing class in university in like 2010 or 11, whatever it was. And it's like, I think about that story and those characters and like develop all that kind of stuff every day. Almost never does a day go by where I'm not thinking about that in some capacity. But because I haven't worked on it in years, it's been... I just got a phone call. I think my thing just stopped recording. So it's been 10 years since I've worked on that script. How do I go about picking it back up again and like caring about it if it's not like new or novel? And it's like, interruptions, they happen frequently. My dad was calling me to let me know that I can have my butt cheek looked at by a professional physical therapist today. So I've got that going for me. I've got a script that I haven't worked on in 10 years and I think about it all the time. I have a card game that I've been developing for a similar amount of time. And it's like any one of these things I could like fully dedicate myself to and work on a lot. I just don't care enough about them for them to matter to me to work on them, which sounds a little harsh, but that's just sort of the philosophy of my life that I have found that makes me happiest, is just not caring about basically anything, right? Like, I choose the things that I will care about. My cats, for example, like I love my cats, I take care of them. That's like a conscious effort for me to be like, I've decided that I'm going to like be the best cat owner that I can, and now I go about my life in a way that I've chosen to care about those things, in part because it's naturally easy for me to care about those things. I could do that. I recognize that I am capable of doing that with any one of those things, right? The YouTube channels, the card game, the musicianship, the artistry, the editing techniques, businesses, product development, like all the stuff that I know a lot about. I don't know, feels weird. 15-year anniversary on YouTube. At what point do I just stop making these videos to focus on other things? And it's like, that's a bit of a mistake to think in even those terms, because you don't have to do, like, you can do multiple things. What's wrong with doing, a couple of things pretty well rather than doing one thing like incredibly well? And it's like, most people don't do just one very specific thing. Unless you're Japanese, then that's like a very common thing over there. Like, everybody has their one thing that's the thing that they do, which is culturally just like a really fun thing to watch, because when you're living over there you can be like, hey, what's your thing you do? And they're like, oh, like and it's never anything that you expect. It's like, I can just like draw like extremely well, and they're sitting there playing piano. It's like, what? But yeah, sunlight coming through the mountains, coming through the clouds. So I've kind of lost the thread of what I was talking about. I guess just family updates and things that I've been talking and thinking about. Oh, I was gonna mention Hindu, Indian philosophy. So there's a dude named, he goes by Dr. K. He has a channel, like a psychotherapy channel. He is a psychologist, psychiatrist, and something of a life philosopher. But so, just really quickly, he runs a thing called Healthy Gamer, just because he noticed that like video game addiction and modern social media problems and stuff just like don't get the kind of attention that they need and deserve from like the mental health community. So I don't know how old he is. I think he's maybe a little bit older than me. But so he basically went through medical school, and like all the people who are the high ups in the fields of psychology and psychotherapy and just all that realm are like old. They don't play video games, they don't go online, they don't hang out on social media, so they just don't fundamentally understand any of those types of problems. And so him, he flunked out of college because he was playing World of Warcraft too much. So when he got his act together by going back to his, sort of native ancestral homeland of India, learned a bunch of these, meditations and philosophies and all these kinds of things. Like, he takes that Came back to the US, got a med school degree, and now just uses that to like help gamers and help people in that sort of realm. And I was like, I've been quite interested in that. It's been very fun to watch, to the point where I think I might, like, at some point investigate like working for him, becoming like a coach under his guide. So like not a psychotherapist or whatever. You're not like legally able to like treat diseases or whatever the medical terminology may be, but something like a you know, it's easy to think about it like a coach from a movie, where it's like you're down in halftime, so your coach is there to like coach you into how to get back into the game and like become victorious. And that seems very interesting to me in a major part because I feel like a lot of the stuff that he talks about and the lessons that he, you know, had to go learn in order to just be able to like cope with his life and help other people cope with their lives is just stuff that I've sort of naturally happened across. And so I feel dramatically well equipped to like help him in his mission of like making sure that gamers and people who are depressed and, you know, young teenagers and like all the stuff can get, you know, help from people who can help them. So that's been very interesting to me, and I'm very seriously considering like doing that type of thing, or at least investigating like how to become like, you know, a life coach in their realm. Anyway, his name's Dr. K. There's a YouTube channel here that's just called Healthy Gamer GG. If you just search Healthy Gamer, it comes up or whatever. He has a class that's coming out this month that I'm probably going to like buy and take and like go through just so I can sort of familiarize myself with his materials. So yeah, information gathering, I guess. A million other things that I could talk about, but I've been rambling for a very long time now. I think it's been quite a while. I don't know if I'm going to try and edit this or whatever. I mean, so that's kind of what I was saying before. I run all these other YouTube channels. And part of the reason that this one became accessible for me was that I years ago gave up on the idea of trying to make them good and just recording the videos as though it was a video blog that's unedited and just fun for me to like, you know, get my thoughts just out of my own head into a place where I can watch them later and that kind of thing. But I also am now trying to create like a whole ecosystem, a whole environment of like the Jaxson video blog media galaxy. So like I own an LLC called Media Galaxy LLC, or Galaxy Media. I can't remember. There was so many of them that were taken already. We had to like sort through a bunch of the lists or whatever. We can include everything from live streaming to like social media stuff to YouTube videos and all that kind of within that realm. So I want like everything in that realm to be the best quality possible. That just takes an enormous amount of time. And the only way to like get the quality higher up than it currently is basically to hire people who are better at those types of things than I am. But I currently don't have enough money to hire anyone because I don't even have enough money to like pay my own medical bills. So how do I go about doing that if you know, it's like I need people who are smarter and better at that type of thing than I am, because I've learned a lot, but I can see now that it's not like enough for the type of things that I want to do. I think the sun is officially up now according to like my local weather app. Kind of successfully had the symbolic gesture of a new dawn, a new awakening, a fresh morning and a fresh start. So I'm gonna get back on the one wheel and go zip around for a while before it gets too hot and I get sunburned. Thankfully, we've got quite a lot of cloud cover today, but anyway, it was a lot of things. I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you whenever I see you next. Check out the other YouTube channels. Check out the Patreon, which we're currently redoing to try and offer people rewards that they would actually value, aside from just the videos existing. If you have any ideas for that, feel free to contact me or my mom. I love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.